Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today we're taking a look at the Ferrum Forge Prolix, and this is going to be my full review. I want to get some biases out of the way first off, because it was bias that led me to buy this knife, and my bias is going to have an influence on this review overall. First of all, I have a real love for Ferrum Forge knife designs. The guys over there, they just have an aesthetic that appeals to me so much. And as I look at this knife, it is beautiful. I love the look of this knife. I think this is a great, great, great design. Total win from that standpoint. The other bias that you guys are all well aware of is I like bigger knives. And the preference for that is generally because I don't like the way smaller knives feel in my hand. I just don't feel like I've got a good enough, I've got enough handle to do anything substantial, right? I guess maybe opening up a package, doing very light EDC tasks, I would feel okay. But this is smaller than I anticipated. I really expected this to be around the size of the Ferrum Forge Stinger, and it's quite a bit smaller. Let me say, I loved the Stinger. There was a reason why it was on practically everybody's best of 2020 list. It was a fantastic knife and truly was one of the best knives of 2020. This guy, maybe it's because I've had the Stinger as well, but it's just not as appealing to me. All right, so let me go ahead and share with you some of why that is, with this caveat, and that is, if you always carry knives with a sub 3-inch blade, you're probably used to knives that you can't get all your fingers on the handle. For me, I just can't take that. I have to be able to get a full grip. It drives me crazy when I cannot. Okay, so take anything that is in regards to ergonomics. If you like really small knives, you can disregard. All right. So size and weight: 6 and 5/8 inches overall, 2 and 7/8 on the blade, 3 and 3/4 inches on the handle. The grip area here, that is basically from here to here, is only 2 and 5/8, and this guy weighs in at a paltry 2.7 ounces, which is to be expected given its fairly small size. Now, I should say, in addition to that grip area, there is this generous finger choil, which allows you to choke up on the knife. And this is the way I would use this knife. I just, holding it this way feels just totally wrong to me. Up here, it's a little bit better, although there's a little hiccup with that as well. So, size, weight, and carry. Yeah, it's small. It weighs barely anything. You can carry this around in your pocket and you don't even really know you have it. It's only 2.7 ounces, so you can carry this as a secondary, as a backup knife. You know, if you're carrying a Rat 1, for example, today, and you're thinking maybe this is a bit too big to pull out in certain circumstances, sure, throw this in your back pocket and you should be good to go. All right, so that's where I would kind of feel like this is maybe justifiable. Even then, I probably wouldn't buy it again. Very nice blade on this guy. And again, I can't emphasize enough how much I love this design. And the blade is one of the things I really, really like here. We've got this beautiful stonewash on this Nitro V steel. It's nice and thin behind the edge, flat grind, Wharncliffe blade with this really attractive swedge all the way along. I will say this is kind of an ergonomic point. I wish that the swedge didn't extend all the way back. They needed to stop it here when the jimping starts, because I feel like the jimping is for my thumb to go there, and now you've created a narrower spot that's a little bit of a hot spot when I'm using this knife. The combination of jimping and thin, the thinness of this created by the swedge makes it not ideal for my thumb up there. It does create a little bit of a hot spot. So otherwise, though, the blade is really good. It is well balanced. It cuts well. You know, if you need this knife for cutting stuff, it's going to do a pretty good job. It's not the sliciest blade that's ever existed, just because it's quite short. Okay. But frankly, apples are generally bigger than this anyway. So you're not going to be slicing apples or tomatoes with this. This is going to be more for light duty, easy EDC type stuff. All right. The Nitro V steel is fantastic. All right. The stonewash is very, very attractive. The opening hole is nicely chamfered all the way around and very, very clean. So overall, I like this blade a lot. Okay, just that one little hiccup that a lot of knives are actually guilty of. So it's hard to center this one out for it too much, but would like to have a little more thickness here on that sort of landing area for my thumb. Moving on to the action. Big surprise. This is a Civivi knife and the action is very good. Will it drop shut? Let me just check for you. Yeah, it sure will. Okay, perfect. Drop shutty action. Very, very snappy detent. You can also spidey flick it very effectively. All right, so the action on this is pretty darn nice, as is expected from anything from Civivi. I will say there's a little hiccup here as well, and that is I have a really tough time getting my thumb sort of down into that gap to get that liner lock out of the way. And the liner lock has pretty high tension on it, which is good because it allows that really nice detent, but I wish they'd taken just a little bit more out of here, like another 1/16 of an inch, and I think it would have made a pretty big difference in terms of the ergonomics of the lock on the knife. All right. And that's a fairly small thing. You can see that as I'm sitting here, I can easily get the liner. I can release it without too much of a problem. However, it's just not as easy as I would like it to be, especially for a knife that is this fidget friendly and this satisfying of an action. For me, I want to open, close it, open and close it, open and close it over and over again. And that becomes a bit of a challenge. All right. Handle here is going to be G10 over stainless steel liners. This is something pretty similar to lots and lots of the Wee Ferrum Forge collabs, like the Stinger, like lots of Civivi knives. So again, nothing to really write home about here. Pretty standard stuff. G10 backspacer, G10 scales over these proud liners. Very nice deep carry clip here with flush screws, which is fantastic. Really, really like to see that. Notice though, it's single position. Just be aware of that if you're a lefty. There's a bit of jimping back here on the backspacer, and I don't really get that because no part of my hand actually contacts that backspacer hardly at all. But it's there, and it's a decent, it does add maybe some visual interest to the knife. In the choked up position, it feels pretty good. You know, from an ergonomic standpoint, you know, I don't like the feel of this at all. I don't like my pinky finger floating out in space there. But when you move up here and get into the choil, then it's a little bit better for sure. And in this configuration, or I mean, in this grip, I can use this knife, and this is how I have used it when I've had opportunity to do so. Okay. The problem that we run into now is that there's not a whole lot of cutting edge here. And so for a lot of jobs, I want that little bit of extra blade to, you know, to be able to cut an apple in half without having to kind of do it twice. All right. So overall, I don't hate the ergonomics on this, but I certainly don't love it. And I will say, with the small size combined with the slightly difficult to access liner, I get a little bit awkward. Like I almost feel like I might drop this from time to time when I'm trying to use it. All right. So ergonomics are okay. And let me say this again, for a knife that's this small, I think if you have a bunch of sub 3-inch knives around, you're probably used to knives that don't give you a whole lot of handle real estate. And I'm just not used to that. Okay. So let's go ahead and grab a couple of comparisons. I do have some small-ish knives. The Kaiser Gemini is a really small knife for me. I know some of you would feel like this is a moderate size knife, but you know, a 3-inch blade, that's to me, that's pretty small. I like to see 3.5 inches, and I would wish, actually, I love the Kaiser Gemini design, so I'd be happy if it was a little bit bigger, if I'm totally honest. So there it is beside a Gemini. Here it is beside the Artisan Cutlery Arroyo. And both of those, by the way, I would consider pretty small knives. Here it is beside a Rat Model 1. I'll throw in a PM2 as well, just because I know many of you will be familiar with those two knives. Not that these are comparable in any way, just that, I know many of you have a Rat 1 or a PM2 in your collection, so that will give you something really obvious to sort of compare to and see how it holds up. So overall, what do I think of this knife? I think it's a really attractive design. I wish it were bigger. I really, I feel like for me, it's a cliche. I say that all the time. This time, I really, really mean it. And please, Ferrum Forge guys, if you're watching this, I love this design. Make it with a 3.5-inch blade, and I would be over the moon, be super stoked, and I would probably buy two just to show my support. It's a good design. It's good build overall, which is expected from Civivi. Like I can't think of any Civivi knife that I've had on the channel that didn't have pretty nice action and wasn't pretty well put together. All right. If the liner was a little more accessible and if the spine were thicker, I would probably be a little happier, and I wouldn't be, I would probably be, what would you say, complaining less about the size because, you guys know how it is when you get something and you're trying to assess how good it is. If it's got one problem and everything else is fantastic, you're kind of like, one problem, no big deal. But as a couple little problems add up, it starts to sort of dampen your spirits a little. And so my spirits are a little dampened about this knife. Thanks a lot for watching. If you want one of these, and if you like small knives, you'd probably love it because you're used to not having a lot of hand real estate. You're used to, having something very thin. And so it's just, you're probably a little more patient with some of the challenges of this knife than I am. You can get one over at White Mountain Knives. I believe they still have some in stock over there. You can probably get them directly from Ferrum Forge as well. I don't know if Southern Edge Knife Works will have these in stock or not, but I know they had the Stinger. So check White Mountain Knives, check Southern Edge Knife Works, use my discount code SHARPSTUFF. That does help the channel. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.